Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the April monthly meeting of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. Our meeting is now officially called to order, and we will start with a moment of silence. Amen. And so let's start with roll call. Vice Chair Lewis.
Here.
Great. Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Pantazis.
Present.
And Commissioner Thompson. All right. And Commissioner Thompson has not signed on yet.
She did send an email out, Chairman, saying that she would be a little late and getting on about 12:45. So just so you and everyone know.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you. And so we officially have a quorum. Now we'll move down to the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, take a look at the agenda. If there are no edits or additions, I will invite a motion to accept the agenda as printed in your board packets.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded to adopt the agenda as printed. All in favor, let it be known by signing aye.
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 Those say the same, right? All right, that passes. Now let's look at the approval of the minutes. We had our regular meeting on February 25th. Commissioners, if you've had opportunity to take a look at those minutes, I will invite a motion to approve the February monthly meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been properly moved in a second that we accept and approve the minutes from the February 25th, 2021 board meeting. All in favor, let it be known by signing aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? All right, that item passes. Let's move down to old business. Mr. Northern, we had a few open items, and I'll allow you to address those one by one.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hello to everyone that's on our
Morning.
board meeting today. So we did discuss having a HABD community security plan, and that's something that we're currently and still working on. Actually, within our capital fund program, we allocated close to $6 million throughout our developments in various properties. You can kind of see what we've allocated for security. This is something that we just put together so that the board members and the community have a better eyes view of what we allocated our funding toward. This is just a summary of some of our planned work activities based on the various sites. That's just a summary that you guys have. We put $6 million in security. We also allocated some for connectivity and some monies that that's set aside for the central office and administration. We'll be able to use some of that money for our youth program in the summer to try to improve the safety concerns related to our various communities. Can you go down, Taran? You can kind of see where some of the other security upgrades. Again, that's lump sum items because we know that with our cooperation and working with the police department that they may make some certain recommendations toward that. And that goes along with our camera installation on the sites also. We're continuing work in our partnerships with Alabama Power along with our public safety director and the police department to identify the exact locations where cameras will go. Those cameras will be not only visible so you can view what's going on, but license plate readers, and it'll be accessed and connected to the local police department's camera surveillance. I can't remember the exact name of, but the camera surveillance department, where they'll be able to have access to those cameras also. As far as archived on archive board minutes on the website, we are currently adding and putting those on just so you guys know that We don't put the minutes on until there's approved. So you guys approved this most recent board meetings minutes, and so we'll be putting those on. But we're working to make sure that we continually provide the level of transparency to the community so they can go and see what has happened at our various board meetings, and we can research the past and also figure those out. Succession planning, that's something that we're working on also. We'll talk a little more about that as time goes on, but we just signed a contract with Human Capital Initiatives, and they're a company that helped develop our not only our organizational chart, but talk and work with us on our succession plan. Another thing along with that is that our professional development, we have a host of trainings that's coming about, most recently for our staff members, team members to be a part of. Ms. Mitchell, would you mind just mentioning some of the trainings that we have in the works to come for our staff members?
Good afternoon. No, sir, I don't mind. So we are actually working on setting up training. We are putting out an RFP. So that RFP should be out within a week or so. And so the RFP is, of course, a list of training. And part of those trainings is the professional development. And then we also are scheduling a sensitivity training. And that sensitivity training, we're looking at it being probably the first week of May. But we also have a partnership with the HAI group. That's the Housing Authority Insurance Group. We've always partnered with them, and they're our insurance company that provide a virtual online training for all of our staff. And so we're getting ready to train all our managers on how they can also assign trainings to their staff as well and track those trainings also. And so we're going to also provide a refresher for all of our staff. They've already been doing some training on that website. And so, but we're going to do a refresher for those staff as well. And we are working on trying to establish HABD own training center so that we can do our own professional development and partner with other agencies, NAMBK. So we've been meeting and talking and communicating about that. So we may have to put an RFP out. We know we'll have to get some additional partnerships. So we're, things are coming along, and we'll start the training probably in May. And if there are any commissioners that want to be a part of the HTVN, the HAI group, just let me know. We can get you all set up as well. Most of those trainings are at no cost because we subscribe through the HAI group. And then there are some that you can get certification that does have a fee.
Thank you for that. So again, we are investing in our organization, our clients, and our team members in order to make them better, so we can provide a better level of service to the clients and the community at large. The last thing, the last thing that's as far as open items is the board committee assignments. So we're working and trying to bring the board committees back. And so we did provide the committees, the list of the committees to our board members, so they can, so the chairman can make decisions on who should be at what committees. And once that happens, we'll start organizing and planning our committee meetings so that we can fine tune the things that we're doing as an agency. Last thing I want to mention is that we talked about possibly changing our board member meetings, our board meeting date, and that's later on in the agenda. But we also want to think about how we can provide an opportunity for more citizens and clients and others to get involved by maybe changing the time of our board meeting. And so that, those that's working, we encourage clients to work and people to work. And I know that it's different shifts and different times, but we want to look at possibly in the very near future, changing the times of our board meetings to have access. So people have more access. We know now it's virtual, and we're putting it and recording them all, and we'll continually have access for individuals that want to sign on virtually, and we'll continue to record them and put them on our website. But we just want to open it up and just a different level of transparency, having people have access to that. And with that, as we move back into meeting in person, hopefully very soon, we talked about possibly having a few board meetings on site locations where the commissioners can actually get to the site, see what's going on, and interact with some clients if they wanted to. So that's all I have, sir, unless you had anything else.
No, I just applaud, the progress that you're making. I saw on the website where you have the videos and the archive board packets. And so I think that's great. And Ms. Mitchell, I love what you're saying about the training, because at the end of the day, our people are our greatest asset. And so anytime we can invest in them, I think it's going to be really good for the overall agency. And so certainly looking to partner with you, Mr. Northern, and our other commissioners on our committee assignments. Commissioners, any thoughts or questions about any of the items under old business?
I just concur and thank Mr. Northern and your staff for putting all this together, and thank you, Ms. Jefferson Mitchell, for the additional comments and getting to all this so quickly and so attentively. I think one, I agree. Just something basic like looking at the board packet with the organization that we now have in a PDF, and then also going to the website, being able to see everything and have that transparency for not only all of us and everybody involved in HABD, but the public at large. I think that just makes a big difference for them to be able to have access to everything. So that's great, and I appreciate all your attention to these matters.
Thank you. Well, there's nothing else. We'll move to new business. Any new business?
I've got some if nobody else does. Just one we've talked about it a couple different times, and I just wanted to make sure we're continuing to look at it. And I imagine it might be part of some of the other initiatives that we might talk about today, but our contracts, having a centralized list of the contracts that we currently have when they expire, and a plan to address them either system-wide, whether it's how soon we're going to evaluate renewing the contracts, or how soon we're going to look at opening them up for RFPs, so that we don't have a gap in the time between our contract ending or lapsing and a RFP going out, or even going out right as it does lapse. So then we still got a gap. I'd like to see, I think that's something that we've talked about doing, and I'd like to just throw that out there as something that hopefully we can continue to work towards. And I think having that kind of database would give kind of a central area to look at that, and that can continue to be updated and provide everyone with access in case those issues come up. But I think also having more of a plan as to uniformly how we're going to address those, whether it's 3 months before the contracts end or whatever it may be.
And just to add, sir, if you don't mind, we do have a contract register, and we do follow, most, if not all of those protocols, but we are currently upgrading our systems and how we respond in that area. But we do currently have a contract register. After we talked on our last meeting, I wanted to confirm with the staff, and I can't find out what I did with it right now, but we do have a that's managed by, I think Ms. Todd manages that.
And that makes sense. I would assume we have something somewhere that has that data. I think the only thing, and HUD brought it up a little while back, that we don't really have a centralized plan on what we normally do for those renewals. So I think, as clear as we can be on that, the better.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir.
Yeah, I agree. So Ms. Bills, let's make sure we add that as an item to follow up on next month. And, Commissioner Fantastic, what I'm hearing where you're going is, more than just having a list of when contracts start and expire, but what's going to be our policy and procedure on X number of months prior to the expiration of a contract is when we issue a new RFP for additional services if we continue to need those services in the future. So whatever that policy procedure is, we may already have that. I just may not know about it, but if not, we just need to make sure that we're all clear about it.
Thank you, sir. Could I go back to one thing? How do you want to handle the board assignments, sir? Do you want the various commissioners you want to make the appointments? You want them to send them to you? I just want to make sure that we can kind of maybe get a time frame in place so that we can move forward with our committees when we get an opportunity.
Yeah, I would love for us to maybe bring that up in executive session if time permitting today.
Dr. Hood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I could interject, in the past, the way we've always done it is the chairman makes all committee assignments. So that's the purview of the chairman to make those committee assignments. I don't think that's a policy. That's just a practice that we've always done since I've been on the board. And so I just letting you know that that's been a practice that the chairman makes the committee all committee assignments.
Thank you, Chairman Davis. I'm thinking, the world has changed in the last year, and so Mr. Northern, based on, your thoughts on how you want to move, maybe we need new committees or maybe we need to combine some committees. So I think we need to get clear on what the committees should be. And then I'd love to hear from the commissioners, which committees you like to serve on. And so from there, we can make assignments. So thank you, Chairman Davis.
Very good. We'll take care of that, sir.
Commissioner Pantaz, like you wanted to say something on the previous item.
Yeah, I was just going to confirm. I think you had to kind of summarize where I was headed with the idea on the contracts. And some of the contracts, have specific things, and then the 60 days prior to the contract ending, we've got to let everybody know if we're going to renew or not, or it automatically renews. So those sort of details, if they're uniform and then our policy is uniform on when we're going to evaluate them, I think that can create a little more transparency in that process for us.
Gotcha. Thanks. All right. Any other items under new business? If not, we will move to the President and CEO's report, Mr. Northern.
And so we provided a extensive report. We didn't have a meeting last month, so it's pretty lengthy, and we provided it ahead of time to the board members. We also made it a part of our packet, and we also plan on posting it so that citizens at large or staff members can have an opportunity to read over it. So I won't sit here and read the whole report to you guys because it's like 18 different bullet points. But what I will do is like highlight some major items and just reassure that individuals have an opportunity to see the complete report as they see fit. One thing I want to do is first thank Commissioner Pantazis for working with us and providing Meals Pharmacy, who will be providing some additional COVID vaccines for our staff members. And we will continually work with them on a relationship to see if we can even provide some vaccines for more clients and possibly some spouses and siblings and kids that's in the household with some of our staff members. So thank you for building that connection. And our first vaccines, I think it's Friday with working with Meals Pharmacy. So I want to thank you again for that opportunity to help build that relationship. City council meeting was held earlier this week, and it was the rezoning for Southtown was approved. And I asked Ms. Hillard if she would just kind of go over some of that so the board members kind of know what occurred there if they hadn't seen it already or was a part of that.
Sorry about that. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Chairman Hood. So as it relates to Southtown, we got approved our rezoning of our site. It was presented by Southside Development Company as our co-developers, as well as the neighboring sites, the ones that are still right now currently owned by Ken Webster and the Bells Health Communications, to bring forth rezoning for all of those properties and move forward with the rezoning. It was approved. There was some feedback from a few council representatives regarding the height, but that was presented in a previous economic committee meeting. We got I won't say 100% consensus with our neighborhood associations, but we do have feedback with some of the neighborhood association members represented in those previous neighborhood meetings and economic committee meeting. We just brought it forth to council and residents of Birmingham, and that was approved, as well as, and this was a while ago, for situation of our block. We would call it Block C, but there was a right-of-way for public right-of-way that still existed on 9th alleyway. I think that's how it's listed. And we got that approved as well, and our fee waived in that case, in that matter. So all items were approved by the city council, to sum it up.
Thank you for that. And we're continually working to get the right messaging out to the citizens, our staff, the board members, and our clients that we're serving about, and helping people to clearly articulate and understand, the roles and the rights of the relocation. And so we're working on some various talking points for that, so that those when those questions are asked, we'll be able to respond in an appropriate way. Couple things else. We have FADA's virtual conference is coming. I'm not sure if the commissioners will be able to attend, but we did sign all the commissioners up for it. There's a number of leadership members plan on attending it. Marsha Fudge, our new HUD secretary, she'll be doing the opening session. So there's be some great information. And our goal was to, whether we capture it on recording, allow our team members that may not have the opportunity to be a part of this conference to hear her words, or work with FADA to get a copy of it so that we can share it with our team members, the whole staff, so they can hear what our new HUD secretary is discussing in detail and related to her goals and in terms of housing. Also at that conference, I officially become the national president of FADA, which I'm very excited about. And, me and our team members had a great discussion this morning about how that could, thank you, sir, how that could not only, align me professionally and personally, and I'm excited about it, but our organization as a higher level of focus, that we're at the table. So, with that appointment, I get a 2-year appointment as national president over the organization and a 2-year past president. So that's something I'm very excited for. And I'm happy that that's, something I can share with Birmingham, the Housing Authority, and clients that we serve and our team members also. We have Section 3 resident-owned business training that's coming. We have a new contract that was awarded that will help and work with our clients to help them become business owners. And we want to encourage them to do that as we move forward with various demolition and construction and all kind of items throughout. We want to encourage our clients to improve on their income and source of wealth. We have also want to thank the Jones Group who worked with us to help provide additional 40 vaccinations for staff. That partnership is with Dr. Chelsea Willis, who has a private practice. So just continually building relationships in the community and allowing stakeholders to work with us to ensure our safety, along with the vaccinations that's being provided. It's a good thing, so I want to thank him for that. Since we implemented the Office of Constituent Concerns, and this was from last month, this month I heard we had over 120 concerns that was brought in and answered. I think it's only 3 that was outstanding out of that 120. But last month we had over 80 that was, and all 80 was answered. So, we're continually working and making sure that when people have concerns, they are being addressed. I get a report of those concerns, and as a leadership team, we look at them and see if something that we can do better, whether it's messaging or training or promoting certain items of the organization, so we can eliminate some of the misguided rhetoric around affordable housing and our goals for our clients and the community that we're serving at large. I had an opportunity to meet with both our police chief and our sheriff to discuss security issues. As we talked about the security plan for our various communities, we know that the base service of our police department, sometimes the sheriff department is here and may help also. So I want to continually build a relationship with them so we can ensure safety and utilize some of the resources that's already here. They have the skill sets on site when we talk about cameras, when we talk about lighting, when we talk about creating new developments that's crime safe and deterrence. Instead of having dense developments, we want to make sure they're at the table with us, helping us and giving us advice around making some of those decisions when we look at developing new properties throughout our community. Next week, we hope to have an RFP going out for development partners. And I know this is something that a number of developers have been waiting on. We have about 5 developers knocking at the door now that want to partner with us. And just so that we all know, we're working on that holistic approach around which properties we want to develop first, making sure that we can provide the right level of decent, safe, and sanitary housing to the clients that we serve, and try to work to not upset their quality of life as we go through that process or with our aging inventory. And so 2 other items that's mentioned in the ED report, the President and CEO report, is that we applied for 2 MTW. We had to send a letter of interest for 2 MTW move to work status designations. One was cohort 4, which is a landlord initiative. So when we talk about repositioning our properties, we want to make sure we build solid relationships with landlords so that if our tenants have to be relocated to private owners' properties, that we have the flexibility to make sure our tenants are protected in the best way possible. Also, with that, I'm having a welcoming and a meeting discussion with all our landlords. We're inviting them out virtually and our vendors in May, so we can just start building that relationship and understand some of the concerns. We plan on having surveys so they can, send information back to us that they may want us to address or look at. But we just want to continue to build those relationships. Cohort 3 we apply for also, which is work requirements, which that's one of the cohorts that help our clients in terms of improving their income and educational goals, and coupling that with the Section 3 on business training. That's just something that we really want to do to help improve that opportunity for our clients and the community overall at large. We did apply for the fiscal year 20 Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant in September. We received notification March 29th that we wasn't selected. However, we have an opportunity to do a debriefing with them and find out what was the issues, and we already applied to do that, and we're working toward it. And so we've worked with the city and together so we can have an opportunity to see what was the issues and how we can do better next time and apply for that grant to receive that funding. So we will continually work toward that. And I believe we sent that information out to our board members so they was made aware a little earlier. I just want to reiterate that we're working toward still trying to have that Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant. And another way that another way that we're trying to really build relationships with the stakeholders, and especially with the policy decision makers. We sent out welcome letters and introduction letters to all elected officials that's covering Birmingham, whether it was state, federal, or local, so that they can know that, tell a little bit about me as a new president and CEO, and understand that we want to work with them to help our clients in the best way possible. So the efforts that we're putting in place in order to get the message out is massive, and it's very important to the goals of the organization as we continually move forward for the benefit of our clients. And again, we had close to 17 items on the President and CEO report, and I went over a number of highlights. And if any of the commissioners had questions or concerns or any input on it, I'll be happy to hear it and try to answer any questions now, please.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Northern on his report? Right, hearing none, Mr. Northern, we will move down to financial services report.
Sorry, I was muted. Today, as you guys know, that we had contracted with BDO as a financial consultant. We currently don't have our chief financial officer, but whether you have one or not, many housing authorities utilize the assistance of financial consultants to help with some of the fine tuning that's needed, especially organizations like us or smaller organizations. And so today we brought Terry, who's our representative that's working with us from BDO. She'll go over some of the financial highlights for you guys today.
Afternoon, commissioners. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for allowing BDO to assist you during this time. My name is Terry Coker. As Mr. Northern indicated, I've worked with BDO for the past 3 years. Prior to that, I worked with the San Antonio Housing Authority as the CFO. And then subsequent to that, 15 years with Cashline Associates. So I have like 25 years of experience for public housing. So I look forward to working with your staff. Will the financial statements be put on the screen?
Theo, do you want to share your screen?
I don't have my financial statement. I thought it would be on the screen.
Okay, I can share my screen. Hold on, please.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
So today I'm presenting the revenue and expense statement for the 8 months ending February 2021. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see this is a targeted percentage of 66.67%, which reflects the 8 months out of the year. I will be providing an explanation for items with a significant variance in the percentage column. The total revenue you can see for February 28th is approximately $28 million, which is a percentage of 67.75, which is slightly higher than the average. There are two items here that have a negative or a percentage that's less than the 66.67, which is the mod inspector salaries and also the force account. That difference is due to some vacancies within the agency. You go down. Under the expenses column, the majority of the variances that you're going to see today has to do with the pandemic. The first has to do with the legal. The legal is at 23.83%. And during this time period of the COVID, HUD has restricted the eviction moratorium so that people who have not paid their rent will not be able to be evicted. The second is a training and travel is at 5.14%. During this time of the COVID, of course, no one is traveling, so the training budget is down. The other administrative cost is at 40.12%. As the agency is not working at 100% capacity at this time, some routine office expenses are not being utilized, such as the copier, the telephones, the office supplies, and so forth. Under tenant services, you can see the tenant services other percent is 24.04%, and that is due to the resident participation funds. At this point, there's only 8 out of the 12 AMPs who have been funded. I know that staff is working with the residents to obtain the necessary documentation, such as the budget and approval process, and they anticipate having it completely funded by the end of April. The next expense to discuss is the utilities. It's a little bit higher than what you would expect, and it has to do with the residents being working from home or the shelter-in-place mandate. The water and the sewage seems to be higher than what we anticipated, so we will be doing analysis of those invoices to make sure there's not a water leak, and we'll be taking action if necessary. Under maintenance, you'll see that labor and materials is also under the 67% threshold, and that is due to the authorities not been working at a reduced work schedule, and so those expenses have not been incurred during this period. We go down to the third page, but further down. Okay, so you have a net income of 1.8 million approximately, and then the budget, of course, is 441,000. At the end of the year, we anticipated being closer to the 441,000. The financial statements are prepared on a cash basis, whereas the year end is accrual. So any invoices that we haven't received for the period ending June 30th would be accrued, and we anticipate the net income at the end of the year to be 441,000. Does anyone have any questions on the financials?
Questions from me?
Let me add one thing, Commissioner Hood. As you know, Terry did mention the eviction moratorium, and you know our city received a tremendous amount of funding from the CARES Act funding and other sources, and we did apply through our not-for-profit to receive some funding to help make some of our clients that may be behind whole. And I did get a notification from the city that we did receive it, and we're working with them to get that process so that our clients won't be in danger of being evicted. Also, it's a different set aside of money that was received by the state finance agency. And so we will be working with our partners to ensure that they are made aware that they have to apply separately to the state finance agency to receive that funding. So again, the partnerships and the stakeholders that we've been working with are already paying off for the benefit of our clients and the organization overall.
Thank you for that update.
Okay,
you.
good.
Given that. Go ahead, Ms. Kashama.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioner, Mr. Northern, everybody. I would like to present the charge off for the month of February and March 2021. For the month of February 2021, we come before the Commissioner to ask them for permission to write off $39,347.08. Most of it is on rent. Rent it comes to $38,310.83. Other utility and maintenance fees are $1,382.90. And when you take up the security deposit, the total comes to $39,347.83. That was for the month of February. This is just the graph showing you like the trend and where we were and where we are going. And then for the month of March 2021, the authority would like the board to approve for us to write off $38,582.90. Of that, $33,832.11 is rent. Maintenance charges and utilities are for $5,725. And when you take up the security deposit for $975, we are requesting your approval to write off $38,582.11 for the month of March 2021.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kashama. Commissioners, any questions about the charge-offs for February and March? No questions. I will entertain a motion to approve charge-offs for the period ending February 2021 and March 2021.
Motion to approve the charge-offs for February and March 2021.
I think I heard a second from Vice
Ms.
Chair.
Lewis.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lewis. It's been moved and properly second that we approve the charge-offs for the period ending February 2021 and March 2021. Commissioners, if you approve this, let it be known by signing aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, God.
All right, that item passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
Next, we have a CARES funds update that we wanted to provide with you guys. To you guys, I know we had some discussions around that. Is it a way for you to change the screen's direction so that it'll be right side up?
Okay, hold on. I'm going to, can you give me just 1 second, please, everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
In the interim, Ms. Kashama, if you just go up to view, click on view, and then you click on rotate view, it'll allow you to rotate your screen if you need that.
While we're waiting, I just communicate a few things around that. Again, I know we had a board meeting in February where we had passed a number of policies related to COVID funding. And we wanted to make sure that the board members knew some of the line items that they had budgeted for and that we budgeted for where we were. So we provided some flow charts and some charts so you guys can kind of gauge from where we are currently and what we have more to spend related to that funding.
Well, Mr. Northern, in the interest of time, I'm happy to come back to the CARES Fund
Yeah,
update.
That's fine. Yes.
Down to the executive session, I'm fine with that.
we can move forward to the executive part of the agenda, sir.
Okay, great. So approval to revise the HABD Board of Commissioners bylaws.
Ms. Foster?
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Northern, Attorney French, and everyone present on the Zoom today. Can everyone see my screen?
Hmm.
Okay. I would like to present to you a board action to amend the bylaws, HABD bylaws. And this change is to the board meeting to change the board schedule date. The date change will allow staff time to prepare documents and sufficient time for board review prior to the board meeting. Particularly if we have action items at the beginning of the month, it'll give us time to put those documents together for this for the 4th of the week. And so as I move down towards our bylaws, I will read to you proposed change to Article 2, Section 2 of the bylaws to commissioners. And it states the Housing Authority of Birmingham District Board of Commissioners regular meeting shall be held on the 4th Thursday of each month at 12 p.m. at the George McCoy Building or any date and time elsewhere as the chairman, vice chairman, or the executive director, president, CEO may designate for the convenience of the members. So I
Yeah.
have,
So just to add, Ms. Foster, we did have that discussion around changing the time. I wanted to really work a little more closely with our commissioners to ensure that we can find the right time and place for that. And you know, it's there in the bylaws, so we can have that flexibility. I just want to just point that out.
yes, sir.
Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner
Yeah,
Davis.
yeah, and Mr. Northern kind of answered my question. I just want to make sure that this was a bilateral decision based on the availability of the board, as well as making sure that staff has time to get make sure that these documents are prepared. I just want to make sure that the board is fine with this time and date. I know we have a working board. Most of our members, they work and have schedules set in place, and so you know, to put it in the bylaws, that's going to be fairly concrete, you know. And so I just want to make sure that you know, before I vote yes on it, that the board is fine with these dates and times, and you know, this is something that the board can kind of weigh in on, and they're satisfied with moving the date.
I think that's a point well taken, Commissioner Davis. I don't know that as a board, we've actually, you know, kind of fleshed it out and talked about it. I know Commissioner Thompson just took on a new role with the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And so her schedule may be impacted by that. So I would love if we could engage in a much more broader conversation, to your point, Commissioner Davis, you know, around not only the date, because the date may be okay, but we may want to think about the time as well. I know Commissioner Pantazis, you know, he and I have just discussed, you know, would it be better to have our meetings first thing in the morning or even later in the day to maximize participation and convenience of all involved, all of our stakeholders. So I would be willing to maybe table this and maybe go into executive session so that the commissioners can kind of talk about this a little bit more. But then I'm also open for us to discuss it now. So what is the purview of you guys, commissioners?
I don't know if Commissioner Thompson have made it to the meeting yet. It's only 12:43. And so, I mean, there's no problem with tabling it. Because it's not a legal matter, we can't discuss it in closed session though, just so we won't.
Okay.
I think it might be worth, I have no problem with moving this to the 4th Thursday and doing that. But if, you know, if we're going to go through the process of amending the bylaws, I think it probably is worth additional consideration as to what's the best time. And, you know, frankly, after work would be the best time for me, but that's just a personal thing. And I think the more important decision needs to be made on what, Mr. Northern, do you and your staff have, what's the most productive way you can have a meeting? And then 2, our stakeholders, our clients, and the people that want to attend these meetings, what's the best way for them to engage and coordinate with us. And yes, it is important what we as commissioners want as well, but you know, I want to have a productive meeting and I want us to put our best foot forward in everything we do. So if we're not prepared to make that decision yet, I think it is, and Mr. Northern, if it's something that you too think is worth at least diving a little deeper into, why don't we table it for a little bit? We can obviously continue to have these on the fourth Thursday per the language in the bylaws as is. And then if there's, you know, if you want to come back with a recommendation that then the commissioners can then determine if that still works for us, I think that might be the best way to move forward.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. We did internally with our leadership team members. We decided that the fourth Thursday would be best for preparation. You know, with the type of items that we want to present to the board and ensuring that we provide all the information for the community to stay engaged. We had not yet talked about and discussed internally related to you know, the time, but it's important. As I mentioned earlier, we're encouraging clients to work, and we want to encourage transparency and participation as much as possible. And the bylaws gives us that flexibility to do it now if needed.
Commissioner, I was just going to add in legally and to Mr. Northern as well. Even as the bylaws are drafted now, there's flexibility as stated, because it still says any day or time or elsewhere as the chairman, vice chair, or executive director may designate. That language, catch-all is in there. One other option that you may want to consider is not really binding yourselves to a certain day and time every month, because even if you agree upon something, it may change. It may be, and other boards may just have a monthly meeting, a regular monthly meeting, again, as designated by, and as long as we're complying with the public notice requirement of making sure that we provide public notice properly in accordance with Alabama law, we're fine. But another option is not necessarily nailing yourself down to a specific day and time every month, because that may change as time goes on with schedules. So you may want to even look at just a regular monthly meeting and still give the chair, vice chair, and executive director that leeway.
Thanks for that, Attorney French. And from time to time, we do have special meetings also, and that's in the bylaws already. So we can have those special meetings with 48-hour notice. So, but yes, I think we can table it and, you know, talk through it more and, you know, come back to it if needed later.
I do kind of like the idea, as Mr. French just stated, you know, to kind of keep it just as a monthly meeting. And if we do amend these bylaws that way, you know, as long as we're meeting our board obligations and disclosures and everything, as far as that we're actually going to have these monthly meetings, and then obviously the public notice, that gives us a lot more leeway, assuming there's no other, you know, hiccups with that. And then we can obviously determine, you know, what we want to do from there.
So we'll work with our attorney to craft the right language, and then we can come back with that to the board at a later date.
Great. All right. So if it pleases this body, then we will table that item to a later meeting. Great. All right, Mr. North.
Do we need a motion to table it because it was an agenda item?
Attorney French, do we have to offer a motion to table it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Commissioners, I will open the floor to entertain a motion to table this item.
A motion to table the change in the bylaws as to the meeting time until the next month meeting.
A second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we table the agenda item to revise the Board of Commissioners bylaws to move the meeting date. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item passes. Mr. Northern, approval of the HABD fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan.
This is a process that every housing authority goes through on an annual basis when we provide updates and changes to our policies in terms of our ACOP and our the agency's continual occupancy plan for public housing and the PHA plan. our 5-year plan, our capital fund budgets, which I talked about a little earlier, as we kind of discussed and broke down the various amounts by sites that's allocated. We did have our public hearing as required. We did utilize our resident advisory board members in terms of putting input in there, and all those recommendations, comments related to the public hearing and the residential meetings that we had was inputted into the plan. The commissioners and a few of the commissioners at the public hearing that we held last week related to this plan had made some comments, and so I don't expect us to have to go through the whole plan, but can we, the staff, I think it was Ms. Todd who did it, can you kind of address some of the comments that the commissioners requested related to our plan? I know Commissioner Fantastis talked about how we should probably, look at when we talk about our development goals, also our continued maintenance or delayed maintenance. And that's one of the reasons I also want to break out the capital funds so you can see kind of what monies was allocated to the various sites related to continued occupancy, maintenance issues, security, and those various issues. Because again, the packet is quite thick and there's a number of financial sheets. So I think our team did a decent job of kind of breaking that out for you guys as a quick view to see. And we didn't send it to you as of yet because we got it, we reviewed it and approved it today. So I'll be sending that out to you guys, and we'll be adding it to our agenda item, not agenda item, but our board packet. So it'll be on there for the community to see also. Ms. Todd.
So at this time, we just request the approval for submission of the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual plan. And upon approval, HABD will submit to HUD on Friday, April 18th, 2021. Are any questions?
A couple of commissioners had made some comments and we made some adjustments to it. Can you just maybe go over a couple of those so that they could, since it was a public hearing, it's in the minutes, but I just want to show that we did hear them and then make the adjustments that's related to their concerns.
Okay, so we did add the deferred maintenance from housing op. We added from the CARES budget, we broke that down, the expenses. We added the updated resident advisory board minutes. We added those to the plan. And we also added the long-term plan on the capital improvements. Project-based vouchers. And the only outstanding items we have, we received the city's certification this morning, and Dr. Hood, you'll be receiving the civil rights certification this afternoon for signature.
Ms. Northern, does that touch on most of the items you recall that was brought up by constituents and commissioners?
Yes, sir. And again, we plan on improving our processes. We continually improve all our processes around ensuring transparency and easy access to individuals that want to review, see what's going on with the organization. And so with that being said, I would ask if we can get approval to submit to HUD the plan.
The only other question I would have is, did the resident advisory board or any other of our clients have any questions or concerns regarding the positions taken in the 5-year plan?
They did have questions and concerns, and we noted that in the annual plan. It's part of an attachment.
Oh, okay.
So how that process works, sir, is that any comments that the clients, the community, the commissioners, the general public have, we're required to note them and identify them in the plan. Some of those may require changes. Some of them may not be major policy changes, but we make sure that they're noted. We continually review them and then and make decisions later if that policy needs to be changed and have it completely vetted. And so we held 2 meetings with our resident advisory board, one before our public hearing and one after, to kind of go back over items with them to ensure that we captured their concerns related to it or the possible adjustments that was needed to be made.
Okay. And the only reason why I asked, because we don't currently have the revised annual plan in front of us, do we?
Ms. Todd, did we send a revised one to the?
We did not send a revised plan. We were still missing a certification from the city. I
So
did forward another rough draft to Ms. Bibbs a few minutes ago, but
When is when does this need to be submitted to HUD?
on Friday.
Okay. I guess I know we're going to kind of redo some of our processes going forward. So before being asked to vote and approve an annual plan, I would want to see the final version of that usually. So that's a little concerning to me, being that we're on the tight timeline and have reviewed the draft plan. I'm somewhat okay moving forward, but I think in the future though, that's something we need to have well in advance of the meeting so that we can look at all the comments and things that have been added to the final form.
So and I apologize for that. That should have been sent out, regardless if we had the certifications or not. So we'll make sure that get out. One of the, it's a timeline that HUD requires, and that may have been a crunch that we had to deal with related to postings and things like that. But we'll make sure you guys get that as soon as possible related to that. The comments that were made, you'll have that, and also again the breakdown of the capital fund program items, and we will make sure that that the final draft of that plan get to you guys. And next time we have to submit a plan like that, we'll start our process a lot faster.
And I know there was a ton of great work, as we noted at the meeting. I mean, the plan is good and it was solid and well supported. So I'm not worried about it, but just in the future, I think that makes sense to address it that way.
Yes, duly noted, sir.
Appreciate that, Ms. Todd, your updates, and Commissioner Pantazis, I really appreciate you bringing that up. Commissioners, any other feedback, thoughts before we vote? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the submission of our HABD fiscal year 2022 PHA annual plan to HUD.
Put a motion to approve the submission of the annual plan.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we approve the submission of the HABD fiscal year 2022 PHA annual plan to HUD. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that item passes. And just to acknowledge some of the concerns that came up, Mr. Northern, I would like to add an item to our next business meeting to at least kind of flesh out what are the customary dates for when this is due. And then, to adequately engage all of our stakeholders, whether it's our clients, our associates, our commissioners. It takes a while to do that engagement. So I would love for us to go ahead and put together what that timeline looks like. So come, this is due every April, then what does that timeline look like? We're going to start engaging people in October or November when it's the first draft due, second draft due, final draft. And then certainly we want to get this submitted to HUD at least 30 days, in advance and not on the last date. So I would love for us just to at least have those dates fleshed out by next meeting. Great, thanks. All right, our human resources is the next agenda item.
Mitchell?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Do you all see my screen?
Yes.
So commissioners, you have in front of you approval to revise the human resource policy, working condition and employee benefits. So I'm going to read this to you all. The proposal is to request board approval for revision to the human resource policy section L, working condition and employee benefits 2.0, salaries and wages 2.1, and 7.0, vacation leave 7.2. The purpose of this request is to change the payroll from every other week to every week. Employees currently receive their pay bi-weekly. The approval will allow the employees to be paid once a week as designated by the president CEO following the end of a payroll period. The justification, HABD employees are currently paid every other week. HABD runs its own payroll, therefore there would be no additional charges to run payroll weekly. After several meetings between finance, executive, and human resources, it was found that changing the payroll to weekly would not have a major impact on the agency. Weekly payroll will allow the employees to be paid more frequently and be more comfortable budgeting within their household. There's no policy impact, no economic impact. And I'm going to scroll down, commissioners, to the attachment so that you all will see the revised policy. And so, commissioners, the information that you see in red is the information that we are requesting to add. The information that you see with the strike through is the information that we're requesting to remove. And then the information that's in black is what, of course, is currently in the policy. So here, salaries and wages, 2.1, we're just requesting to add or direct deposit, that is how we're currently being paid now. And then also removing other so that it won't say every other week, but it would say every week. So of course, commissioners, because we will be changing it every week, the pay periods would no longer be 26 pay periods. It'll be 52 pay periods. So up under 7.2, you will see that change in red. And then of course, with the vacation hours, nothing changes as far as the number of hours that the employees will receive. But I work with finance and we just broke them down to a weekly hours per pay period. And so you will see there with less than 90 days and 90 days to 5 years is 1.846 hours per pay period, which is still 96 hours. And then 5 years to 11 years, which is 2.308, which is still 120 hours. And then 12 to 15 years, 2.769, which is 144 hours. And then 16 years and over, 3.077 hours, which is 160 hours. Commissioner, we are requesting your approval to revise the Human Resource Policy Section L, working conditions and employee benefits, salaries and wages, and vacation leave to be consistent with the employees being paid once a week.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding this approval request?
Yeah, there was no change in overtime.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
The only question I have is, did we consult legal about this at all?
So all of our board actions are sent to legal prior to us bringing them to the board.
If legal had a problem with any one, we send it to legal and they review it, then they follow back up with us if it's an issue related to a change. And we did talk with our fee accountant related to that change, along with our payroll processing system that we had, and there wasn't any issues with it.
Commissioner Fantasia, there's no legal ramifications of it. It's really at the discretion of the commissioners.
Okay, sounds good. Only concern I have is whether it might affect any sort of overtime issues for exempt or non-exempt employees. But if we're confident we're in good shape there, I don't have any problem with it.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I will entertain a motion regarding this item.
Motion to approve the change to the HR policy.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that this body authorize the president and CEO to revise our HR policy, Section L, working condition and employee benefits, 2.0 salary and wages, 2.1, and 7.0 vacation leave, 7.2. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item passes. Ms.
Thank
Mitchell,
you,
you have another
Commissioner.
item? Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, the next items you have in front of you is the approval to add a no gossip policy to the human resource policy. The proposed is to request board approval for revision to the human resource policy, Section I, employee conduct 21.0. The purpose of this request is to create a more professional workplace and changing the atmosphere to be gossip-free. And a justification. So according to the Society of Human Resource, SHRM, in an article, workplace gossip can be very serious. However, if the gossiper has significant power over the recipient or information travels throughout the agency, there could be a lasting effect. And some of those negative consequences of workplace gossip could include erosion of trust and morale, lost productivity and wasted time, increased anxiety among employees as rumors circulate without clear information as to what is factual, divisiveness among employees as people take sides, hurt feelings and reputation, attrition due to good employees leaving the company because of an unhealthy work environment. There's no policy, well, inconsistent with the human resource policy. Anytime, we have to, of course, bring it to the board to make those changes. There's no economic impact. I'm going to scroll to the policy. And commissioners, would you all like for me to read the entire policy or just sum it up, or?
I think you can sum it up and with particular emphasis on, what are the ramifications for an employee that violates the policy?
Yes, sir. And so basically the no gossip policy, what we want to do, we want to make sure that our HABD employees are not sharing confidential information, internal information to other business partners. Sometimes, there are other partners in business that are not within the housing authority. They know information that they possibly should not know. So we want to make sure those, our employees are not, giving that information out. We want to also make sure that staff is not gossiping and sharing information or speaking negative about other persons. We want to try to keep a positive environment. This can be through email, social media. Sometimes you may see where some of our employees may screenshot negative things that may be on the internet or something like that and pass it on. So we want to, try to encourage employees not to do those things. And so we see this as a way of creating a positive atmosphere and then also increasing the agency morale. And our goal is to be one agency, one voice. So if there's any time where, there's something that an employee may want to talk about, then we encourage them to not congregate and talk negative, but, of course they can talk to outside people, but we just want to try to make this environment a more positive environment. And not that it's totally negative, but just want to help increase the morale. And then if you look at this policy, so we talk about how gossip always involve a person who is not present. And then it's unwelcome and negative gossip involve criticizing another person. Gossip often is about gestures that can injure another person's credibility and or reputation. So we want to just kind of look at that. And so when you talk about what would be like the ramification as far as if someone violated, we would treat it anyway any of our other violations of our policies are. And so of course we have a progressive disciplinary policy where you do coaching, so if you hear those things, a supervisor may just want to pull that employee in. Of course, you want to make sure that it's factual. Currently, we do not write anyone up, provide them any corrective action without speaking to that employee first. and hearing what they have to say and hearing their side. And then at that point, that is when we decide, the managers decide, okay, well, this warrants a disciplinary action, whether that disciplinary action is a coaching note, a verbal, a written, or suspension, depending on what it is. So it wouldn't directly just be a total write-up or anything like that. We typically would want to talk to that employee.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
If I could, I would like to know, is there an impetus that brought this on, this policy? I know we've never, to my knowledge, we never had a policy like this in place in my time on the board. And so I was just curious to know, is there a company-wide issue that maybe brought this on, or is it something that caused you guys as a staff to want to bring this policy before the board? And the second question I have is, I guess my major concern would be from a legal standpoint. I know a lot of times we like to put things in place, and of course I support putting policies in place to create a conducive environment for all of our staff to thrive. But at the same time, I just want to make sure that we're not encroaching on folks' rights as freedom of speech. And I don't know if our legal team has had a chance to review this, but I just want to make sure that we're not, we're not encroaching on people's individual rights, and I guess the second part of that question would be is, kind of how do you gauge when someone's gossiping? Like if it's in writing, or if it's just a he say she say type situation. I think that's going to be hard to gauge. It's going to be hard to kind of quantify, in my opinion, just thinking. But I'll be quiet and just kind of, get some feedback, let you answer those questions.
Well, Commissioner, there's been a number of problems related to gossip, and as Ms. Mitchell said, also, it destroys kind of the fabric of the workplace. Not only just individual staff members about each other, but also in terms of how our vendors respond to various items, where there be negative opportunities. So, for example, we have a lot of like landscape vendors, and they do business not just with us, with others. Not do business just with us, but they also do business with others. So it's been items that came back about how some of our staff members make comments around them, and it may in fact impact their business. So all we want to do is make sure that, just like anything else, is a deterrent. Sometimes people put like fake cameras up so they can deter people from doing things. Our job is not to stop people from communicating or having an opinion, but not to hurt and harm people mentally, physically, and emotionally, or financially. And it has been situations where the agency's made decisions, since I've been here already, that we made decisions, and somebody in the community told me about the decision, whether it was about an individual staff person or a contractor, that it got back to me already that we made this decision, and they know about it. I had some situations where I had to send some emails to staff members related to the lack of performance of a contractor. And another contractor called me and said, "Hey, I can do better." And I asked him, "Well, how did you find out about this?" He said, "Everybody was talking about it." And so, that's just some examples of what I've dealt with since I've just been here on a short time. And I'm pretty sure Ms. Mitchell can talk about a number of situations that has caused problems for staff members or the agency. And we just want to address it and let our staff know. And another thing is that, and we know we make policy changes and we make decisions at the leadership team level, at the board level, and sometimes our staff, our team members never get an opportunity to hear it. And so what we've started doing is, once the board has approved whatever the resolutions are, we're gonna have a wrap up with the staff, 20, 30-minute call, just to let them know what's going on in the organization. And that's where we can kind of detail and explain some of the, not just this policy, but other changes or decisions that the board had made, so everybody can be on the same page related to that.
Yeah, and my final question is from a comprehensive standpoint with various housing authorities. Is this a practice that other housing authorities, do they have policies in place such as this? Is this something that you've seen nationally where other housing authorities have a policy in place such as this?
Yeah, we've had it. I've had it in Champaign County had it, Lake County had it. I can't remember if Philly had it or not, but I know those two had it. Most recent housing authorities, and like it's a lot of client information, right? It's sometimes staff unfortunately talk about clients, and they go out in the community because we have detailed information on clients. It may be whether they're some information, medical information we may have on clients or other staff members. People gossip about it and they come back around. It's, oh, this is in a community now that I applied for HIV housing, right? We just want to resolve those type of items, not to penalize people or not to allow them to talk, but to protect the rights of others and their personal and private information also.
Commissioner Davis, I really appreciate you bringing it up. I think I share some of your thoughts. So, Mr. Northern, I appreciate, the context that you gave. I'm always wary of individual situations happening, and then the response is to issue a blanket policy because of anecdotes. So, as it stands, I would not be in favor of this. Two, I'm also concerned about the unintended consequences of what a policy like this would mean to what message does it send to our employees? Certainly, we don't want employees sharing confidential or sensitive information, about our agency outside of our agency. That should not happen. But for me, that's a different policy. That's not a gossip policy. We should already have policies on the books around not sharing confidential or private information of the agency. Now, that being said, I am concerned. I have also heard stuff from staff that our staff don't feel like they can speak up. They feel like if you say anything that is negative, then there's going to be retaliation against you. And so I think there's a broader concern that we have with the culture that we have in our agency that needs to be addressed. I don't know that the best way to address that is through a policy. It may be through training. If our employees don't feel like they can speak up, if they don't feel like they can talk to their supervisor, or if they don't feel like they can go beyond their supervisor and talk to somebody else, their only option is to share that information with another employee or outside the agency. So the only way I would be in favor of something like this is that if it was combined with some intentional training that we're going to roll out around how do you create a psychologically safe environment for our employees to talk about, ideas that they may have that may be an improvement upon a policy that we have, because a policy like this is very subjective. If I say, well, you know what, I don't understand why we do the policy like this. I think it would be better if we change the policy. One person may see that as an innovation, as a great idea. Somebody else might see that as negative. And so this same policy that was intended for good could be weaponized against our employees, particularly employees that somebody doesn't like. So I would need a little bit more context around how we're going to create a culture where people feel good speaking up about things that they see that could be improved about the agency or things that are personally happening to them. And then maybe I would be open to a policy that also addresses how do we protect confidential information, which certainly should not be shared outside of our agency. Things about a vendor, a client, a resident, or something like that.
Okay, that's understandable. I appreciate that. I just want you to know we are having sensitivity training and all those trainings also that's coming to fruition to align with that. And again, our goal was just to try to protect our clients, our team members from a whole lot. We didn't have anything in our policy that really addressed, in our current personnel policy to address that. So it wasn't like one situation occurred and we looked at that, but it was a part of a broader approach of change for the organization, as well as painting, carpeting, to update the environment, the work environment, putting motivational signs around to improve the mindset of our staff members and team members, so that they can create change within not just the workforce, but our clients also.
Chairman Hood.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I would like to have Attorney French kind of weigh in and just kind of get his thoughts from a legal standpoint, on this policy, this proposed policy?
Yeah, I saw Commissioner Pantazis come off of mute before that, so let
Okay.
Commissioner weigh in, and then Attorney French can weigh in.
Well, and I may be saying similar things to what Mr. French may say as well, but I kind of echo a lot of what Commissioner Davis said. I'm concerned that this is still pretty broad, and I think there is a legal issue with that in some ways, and that the Labor Relations Board has found these provisions to be overbroad at various times. And I'm sure you pulled this from some other, approved policy. So probably there's some specifics here that might allow it, but it would worry me on that end. And it seems like it might be creating another hassle, another headache for us, where we're really trying to kind of create a better culture. And so I wonder if there might be a way to have something that's more positive based, that, says here's more of a directive about how the organization should be represented, as opposed to conduct that should not be allowed, so maybe more of a positive approach to that. And then my second concern, again, kind of touches on some legal issues, is I just worry about overemphasizing a lack of communication, particularly when it comes to issues of sexual harassment or, any sort of discrimination. I think while gossip is problematic and clearly can create a lot of headaches and doesn't put us in a good light, I think some of the more significant issues that can occur in a workplace need to take precedent over this sort of directive. And the way it's written, the report of anything bad is kind of at the very bottom. We kind of lead with don't gossip, don't gossip, don't gossip. And then it kind of just comes to, well, but if anything really bad happens, you have to use the right channel. And I just feel like it places the emphasis on the wrong thing, that I would hope our employees feel confident and empowered to report. And so I think we have the impetus to do this is fine. I understand where everybody's coming from, and I don't want to stand in the way of helping create a better and more positive workplace. But at the same time, I think there might be a better way to do it.
Yeah, and I just want to add just about the unintended consequences of our policies. When I first came on the board, we were at a meeting out in the community. It was one of these, evening community meetings. And I was standing around talking to some of the staff members, and then I had a staff member tell me, Commissioner Hood, I can't be seen talking to you. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't be seen talking to me? Like, well, we have a policy that all communication, that the staff cannot be seen communicating with commissioners. All staff communications have to be filtered through the CEO and executive director. And I was just baffled by that. And so, I talked to the previous, CEO about that. And he was like, well, no, the intent of the policy is sometimes commissioners will ask for something, and then a staff member may send it directly to the commissioner, and then the CEO may not know about it. So the intent of the policy is to make sure that we have one central place through which all communications go, but it was not intended to be something to where there should be a dividing line and never should an employee ever talk to a commissioner. So again, I think we just have to be very careful about the policies that we roll out and the unintended consequences and the message that it sends to our staff. Because again, I think we could inadvertently create a culture where people feel like they can't say anything about anything. And if they do, they're going to be retaliated against. Attorney French.
Thank you, commissioners. I was going to say, I kind of see where this is headed, and with the comments that the commissioners have already stated beforehand. All of those comments and statements are directly on point. I mean, you also have to kind of take into consideration, there's certainly laws on the books that kind of deal with defamation, libel, which is actually something in writing that could damage someone's reputation, slander, something that's spoken, that could be spoken word that, again, harmful to someone's reputation as well. But in response to those, you have that truth under the law is an absolute defense, to those. And I think the policy, while well intended, probably just at some point in time, I can get with Mr. Northern and to see if there's some other means and method, maybe via some other policy, that we can kind of achieve these goals and objectives that he set out to achieve, that we can address the concerns that the commissioners have made. So I would say, Commissioner, if you just wanted to make a motion to table this policy, and then at some later date, if necessary, we can address it.
Thank you, Attorney French. So what is the pleasure of this body based on the conversation that we've had and the guidance given by our general counsel?
I think it makes sense to table it if everybody's in agreement to come back with a little more revised approach to it. But also, I again want to applaud the notion that when there's conversations about partnerships and vendors and activities that are going on, it really is inappropriate to have those conversations. I don't think there's any dispute about that from the board level or from anywhere else. I think the only thing I would offer that we should table is how do we best address that? And I think it probably needs a little more revising before we move forward with a policy revision.
Yeah, Ms. Mitchell, do we already have policies in place that talks about the protection of vendor information, employee information?
That was my question as well, Commissioner.
I don't think it goes into that detail, but we do have a confidentiality policy. Some of the things that are in here, I think we can flesh it out, and look at combining and some of those things. If the legal and of course Mr. Northern, whatever direction they would like to us to go, I see that, but we do have a confidentiality policy. Yeah. It doesn't tackle some of these items.
Yeah. So I would just say, whatever policies we have on, in place, maybe we just do some targeted training just to call our employees' attention to those things that we already have on the books. I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson, you want to chime in? Oh, you good? Okay. Great.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right, thank you. So we still have this agenda item on the table. Can I entertain a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move to table the no gossip policy.
A second.
It has been approved and seconded to table the no gossip policy to a later date. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. Real estate development.
So we have a lot of real estate activity. As I mentioned a little earlier, we're in the process of putting out a RFP. We're still bringing that together for development partners to reposition our inventory. And we have, is Ms. Herrera on a call? I believe so.
Mr. Northern, this is Ms. Hughes. She is here.
Okay. All right. So our consultant, development consultant, real estate development consultant, have some information to go over. Some of it is related to Softtown, as we talked before, a little bit about the city council meeting that was had earlier this week. That kind of details some of that information, but also just explains a little bit about the relocation aspects that's on a lot of individuals' minds. So if Ms. Herrera wouldn't mind.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. There is a development report in the board package, but I'll just highlight some of the key elements of it. First, at Southtown, as Christy Hillard had reported earlier, the rezoning was approved by the city council this past week. So we were very pleased to have the plan approved by the city council. We've been continuing to work with the development partners on the development of the site. What is confirmed at this point, in your development report, you can see a site plan of the proposed redevelopment. And there are 4 blocks that are referred to in Southtown, block A, B, C, and D. We have confirmation at this point and funding in place for block D, which will provide for 60 units of low-income housing tax credit family housing with project-based vouchers to be provided by the Housing Authority. The second component on Block D will be 142 unit senior building, 4-story building. It will have 128 units that will be low-income housing tax credit with project-based vouchers, and 14 units, which will be market rate units for residents that may have a higher income above the tax credit limit. The remaining portion of the site, while there is a conceptual plan, none of the actual components have been defined yet. As part of the conceptual plan, there's a large, the majority of Block B would be a commercial block that would consist of hotel, retail, and office facilities. Block C would also be some retail and office facilities, with a possibility of some additional affordable units on that site, as well as market rate housing. And then Block A would as well be a combination of market rate and commercial facilities. So because of the way this is going to proceed at this point in the relocation, we have left the 88 units that are on Block A will remain there until such time that the units in Block D are built. So HUD has asked us to come back and phase the disposition application. So we've submitted an amendment and have been working with HUD to have a 2-phased disposition application. Phase 1 would be blocks B, C, and D, and phase 2 would be Block A. Blocks B, C, and D, we would proceed with demolition within the next probably 90 to 120 days. Block A, however, would not be demolished until 2023, when the construction for Block D would be completed. And so that's the amendment that we've done to the disposition plan that we've been working with HUD on. That will allow the Housing Authority to continue to receive funding for the 88 units that remain in Block A. As far as relocation, there were 224 residents that have utilized a housing choice voucher as their choice for relocation. 88 residents that will be remaining on site at Block A until such time that they can apply to move to the units that will be developed in Block D. And then the remaining residents have been moved to other public housing communities of their choice. Some residents may have gone to a public housing community temporarily and still have a voucher and are continuing to search so that we can get Block D fully vacated so that we can proceed with the demolition on Block D, since the 60-unit family property has received an allocation of 9% tax credits, and it has a deadline in which it needs to complete that construction, and therefore it needs to move to closing within a very short period of time. I'll stop for a minute and see if anyone has any questions on Southtown before we talk about anything further. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners?
I have a question. I'm not a commissioner. My question is, only 88 people will be returning back to Southtown, if that's what you're saying.
No, there will be a total of 220 affordable housing units.
Okay.
On the site that will be available for former residents. But the 88 have chosen to stay at Southtown until such time that construction is completed. I do want to clarify, because I want to be transparent and make sure everybody understands, this is a Section 18 demolition, which under the Section 18 provisions with HUD, it does call for what's considered permanent displacement. But the Housing Authority has made a provision that any resident formerly at Southtown will receive a preference to return to any of the units that will be redeveloped on the site. So I just wanted to be clear. These will be low-income housing tax credit units, which follow a different set of rules. And so residents do have to be eligible under the low-income housing tax credit provisions.
Thank you.
So that's, I think, important to remember. And we'll continue to work with residents to be able to assist them to meet that eligibility criteria. But there is a very strict income limit that would apply to that. And it's possible that there could be residents that will not be able to meet that criteria because they may have an income that might be too high. I don't think we'll have a lot of that, but there could be a few. So we just want to be very transparent and make sure everybody understands that. Any other questions on Southtown? If not, I'll just talk briefly. We are doing an in-depth analysis of the public housing portfolio. About a year ago, HUD had provided some technical assistance to the authority and provided kind of a preliminary, HUD refers to it as a scorecard, kind of a preliminary plan as to how to reposition all of the public housing portfolio. The Housing Authority did have some commitments to proceed with RAD on several of the properties, including Morton Simpson Village, Collegeville Center, North Birmingham, and Charles P. Marks. But those chaps were very old. And so, thank you, Christy. We returned those to HUD because the expiration date had actually, HUD actually asked us to withdraw them because they had expired. And so at this point, we have met with HUD and have gone through what they prepared as a technical assistance. And we're working through that right now. And we'll be bringing back to the board, via a workshop within the next 60 days to talk more about the overall portfolio and all of its repositioning strategies so that we can, provide with you kind of the specific strategic repositioning plan that we would like to move forward with on all of the properties. Any questions on anything related to RAD or the repositioning? We'll be coming back to you with a lot of information on that over the next few months, as I said. And then other smaller projects that we have in the works right now, the Woodlawn project, that's an 8-unit rental project, which we are working on and have a couple of things that we need to do as far as a subsidy layering and some other things we need to do there. The villas at Titusville 2, this project, we're just trying to close it out at this point. The developer is doing a refinancing with an FHA mortgage because of extreme increased costs related to some delays related to COVID. There was both increased construction cost as well as leased up delays. So there was what's called a downward or a negative adjuster for the tax credit equity. So through an FHA mortgage, they were able to secure a better term with a lower interest rate, and therefore we're able to make that project financially perform a little bit better. So I was actually on the phone with HUD today going over the changes that have to be done there. Farrington, basically, we've been working with them to get the 22 units that came from Tom Brown to initiate the subsidy payments. And so we're working with HUD and the developer on that. Tuxedo Terrace has a lot of challenges. There is equity that's still being held by the investor for this project that has never been released. It has to do with the inability to provide a clear title to the tax credit investor. There is a water board easement that goes underneath an existing building. It kind of came to a halt. We have reactivated this and reached out to BWD so that we can work through the easement. I'm currently working with the surveyor to show the easement in a location that will not go underneath the building because the equity investor will not release. This $2.5 million is actually money that belongs to the Housing Authority. It would be non-federal cash. So I'm working diligently to get that money released back to the Housing Authority so that we can, be able to resolve this issue and the investor will release it. In addition to that, the property's been having some operational stabilization issues, so we're looking at that as well. And then finally, the Glenbrook at Oxmoor, that property also was a tax credit property, and the developer is looking for the Housing Authority's affiliate to take over as general partner. So we're currently analyzing that project to determine what that looks like, and we'll come back with a recommendation to the board on that project. And that's kind of the summary of where we are on development right now. Any questions?
Thank you for that update, Ms. Herrera. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or feedback for Ms. Herrera? If not, thank you, Ms. Herrera. I really appreciate the updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will entertain presentations by persons desiring to speak before the Board of Commissioners.
Good evening, this is Miss Davis.
Hey, Ms. Davis.
How are you today?
Well, Ms. Davis.
I have two things I want to talk about. We've been having problems receiving our funds for the resident council. We're having a problem now with Ms. Sanders that's out in Smithfield. Turning her paperwork, and they think that when we have resident council meeting, we have residents council meeting. The resident is the reason why we're having a meeting, and they can object or oppose or agree to anything that we're talking about, because it is about them and the community that they're in. And to say that they can't speak, and that's the reason why I can't get my funding, is because the residents can't agree to something. Makes no sense to me. Here we go again with the same thing. It's a block to keep us from getting our funding. I'm stepping up to the plate because it's time out. This been going on for how long now? A year and a half, 2? And the residents are still having problems getting their funds. This makes no sense to continue to keep doing this.
Ms. Davis, thank you.
The finance department does not work for us. All you do is when we send our paperwork in, you go over it and make sure everything is there, and you write the check. How we run our meeting and how we hold office, that has nothing to do with them.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Northern, you want to respond to that?
I wasn't made aware of that from the last conversation I had with our team, was that all of the resident councils received money. I don't know if that's something that just occurred. I know, Ms. Davis, we had a meeting, when was that, yesterday? That wasn't mentioned. So did this just happen today, or?
This been going on for about a week. They were supposed to get their money, if it's not last week, week before last, and they are holding it up every time. She need to rewrite her minutes. No, sir. She don't need to rewrite her minutes. She put in there what happened. What they got to do with her getting her funded?
Okay, well, I'll make sure that we take a look at it and see what's going on, and follow back up with you guys as soon as I can. I know I was supposed to have a meeting with Ms. Sanders tomorrow, but she canceled it. But so if you have concerns, please reach out. I know that we've been meeting on a monthly basis. I've been meeting personally with the resident leaders on a monthly basis. So like I said, this is my first time hearing about that it was a situation. I know we had met yesterday and I hadn't heard about it. So I'd be happy to try to work through with the team and get it addressed.
Well, we've been talking about it and just have discussed it, and told you how we have been being treated. And we assumed that once you had told them to get things straight, that everything was going fine. And here we go again with the same old thing. And we keep coming back to you with the same old thing. It has not even approved at all. But that's one. The second one is this.
Before you go on, Ms. Davis, this feels like a recurring
yes,
issue.
Yes.
That actually preceded.
It's just that bad. It is just that bad.
So, we got to get this fixed. Whatever it is, we just need to address it. So Ms. Bills, Mr. Northern, I would like for us to add this to our agenda item for next week, just as an update on how this was resolved, because I want you, Ms. Davis, whatever is going on, we need to get that fixed in the next 30 days.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because
and again, Ms. Davis, like I said, whenever a situation like that occurs, just let me know so we can start working toward it. I hadn't been made aware of that from Ms. Sanders or the other resident leaders.
Yeah, but we said that we tried to handle it through the people that you put to work with us, and they can't seem to move anything So we had to come to you guys because it's not going forward.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Davis. What was your second thing? Mhm. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
You made me forget what I didn't say.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. But I get so upset when we come to us, when we trying to do things for our resident and the things that they say that we can have, it's a problem. I'm not understanding it, why it's so hard for us to do things, and they want to know what you're gonna buy, how you're gonna spend, and when you're gonna do this. That makes no sense to me, y'all. So we are adults and we're human beings, and we need to be treated as such.
Yes, ma'am, and you will. And I know Mr. Northern, one of the first things he did when he came in was to establish our Office of Constituent Concerns, which I think is a huge step forward in making sure that we have really good communication between us and all of our stakeholders and our clients, and to make sure that we're making, adequate progress to resolving issues like this. So I have a lot of confidence in Mr. Northern and the staff that we will get this addressed once and for all in the next 30 days.
Okay, well, we're gonna see. Mr.
Ms.
Norton, though,
Davis,
I asked him when he came in, before we had voted for him and glad to have him. I asked him then who was gonna run the agency. Did I not? And what did you tell me, Mr. Norton?
I run the agency,
Okay,
but
Ms. Davis.
Okay, wait a minute. You
No,
said
no.
I will.
as my role as the president and CEO, I'm gonna run the organization. But again, just remember, Ms. Davis, I have 200 plus staff members, so I don't know everything that occurred, and that's why I dedicated myself to meet with the resident leaders monthly before the board meeting. And I met with you guys yesterday. Nobody said nothing, so I'm really, if I don't know it's a problem, I can't address the problem.
Well,
So that's the only thing I'm saying. And I know the last time you guys had an issue that was addressed and dealt with. And so this is something new. So please just let me know what's going on so I can deal with the team that I have in place. Because if I don't know, I can't deal with it.
Okay.
We'll get it done, Ms. Davis. Trust, we'll get it done. I know
Okay, Ms. Davis.
Commissioner Pantazis come off of mute. I think he wanted to.
Okay, I'm here.
hey, Ms. Davis, I just wanted to add, I'm sure Mr. Northern's going to look into everything and get on top of it. If there are any, future issues on this, just make sure to use the Office of Constituency Concerns and put some of these things in writing so that we can all continue to track and monitor. I think, it makes things easier for everybody if they can say, oh, we got this request 2 weeks ago and it hadn't been attended to. What's going on? What's the reason? Is it because the paperwork wasn't done right, or because somebody's not paying attention? And obviously that's not our role as a commissioners, but I think as an agency, it's an easy way to kind of keep an eye on stuff. So we just want to make sure everybody continues to use those outlets, because I think that's a really good way for everybody to look for accountability.
Okay, I can, make sure that they do that. I will do that.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
All right, the second thing is I had Ms. Kidd to email you something. It is a program that the CPAB board would like to have your blessing in and also financial assistance with. We would like to do a program called Shade. And we're looking at for August for all the girls from 6 to 18 who live in public housing. And I sent you the list on the program that we're going to have breakout session for the girls. There's no girls programs in Birmingham. I found that out. And I'm trying to teach them how to love one another and love themselves and take pride in where they live at, because where they live at does not mean that's who they are as a person. And give them pride that they start loving each housing community and stop talking about, well, you don't live over here, I live over there. No, we're all in the same boat and we need to come together as one. So I would like to put this program on for the girls in public housing, and I need you guys' assistance to make sure that it be a success.
Okay. Community engagement, make sure we work with you guys on that. Mr. Matthews, have you been made aware of that request?
She had mentioned it, and what we'll do is make sure that everything goes through, and we'll cover everything that we need to do.
Thank you, sir. We'll make sure we follow up with that, Ms. Davis.
All right.
Did you say you said you emailed me or you had somebody
Yes,
else?
I sent one. I sent everybody an email copy of the agenda and a little short synopsis telling you what it was all about. This morning, I sent it this morning.
Oh,
Ms.
okay.
Kidd sent it this morning. Mhm.
No, I apologize. I hadn't seen it as of yet, but I'll make sure I get it and we can work toward supporting you guys in those efforts. I think that's a noble activity.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Davis. We'll get on both of those items.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else desiring to speak before the board?
Commissioner Hood, I just wanted to tell Ms. Davis that this is Commissioner Thompson speaking, Ms. Davis. I would love to support the initiative that you just mentioned. If there's any resource that I can provide, please feel free to reach out to me directly or however else. That's a big passion of mine as well. And so I certainly want to support however I can.
Oh, thank you so much. I have so many ideas. I would like to share them with you.
Looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Anyone else desiring to speak before the board?
Commissioner Hood, Chairman Hood, I would like to remind you that we want to do the CARES Act presentation if you guys still wanted to, the financial presentation. I know you received it in your board
Yes.
packet, but.
Yes, thank you. I did forget about that. I appreciate it. Are we prepared now, Ms. Kashama?
Yes, yes, I'm ready, sir.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Ms. Terry, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the situation we had earlier, but so the CARES Act are funds that we received from HUD is to help us maintain our normal operations during the pandemic. And for the first slide here is the pie chart for the Public Housing CARES Act. So we received approximately $4.8 million. And we have expenditures that have been identified of about $3.9 million. At the top, it says net income or loss, but that's really kind of doesn't explain. If we don't use that money, HUD will recapture it. So we need to come up with some kind of additional expenses so that will be covered by that $922,000. The second slide is actually a breakdown of all the expenses. So we have asset purchases of $2 million, personal protective equipment of $382,000, salaries and benefits of $1.3 million, and human resources, software, and office upgrades of $81,000. And on the third page, we have actually the breakdown, as I mentioned earlier. Salaries and benefits are broken down, by line item.
Hey, Terry, could you do something for me? Could you explain how part of our process, we offset some of our expenses to utilize the CARES Act money so we can keep our operations money?
Yes, sir, I sure will.
So they can understand why those numbers are like that, kind of.
Okay. Originally, when HUD started providing CARES Act funds, they limited to CARES Act activity. I think it became very confusing for a lot of housing authorities. And in addition to that, there were a lot of problems with staffing and so forth because of the COVID. So what they did is they opened it up and they said, okay, you can use your CARES Act money for any operating expenses. So it will offset our operating subsidy in fact, but any money that's not used will have to go back to HUD. So we recommend that you use your CARES Act money first, and then afterwards you start using your operating subsidy.
I just want you guys to understand that it wasn't additional salary money. It was permanent already. We just did a financial offset so that the money can be utilized and appropriately. And so even when we talked earlier about the opportunity we have to work with the city to help some of our struggling clients related to the eviction moratorium, a lot of organizations did that because the CARES Act money was some of that income. We're not allowed to use our money for rent. And so we try to use it the best way possible so that we can save money that we're losing as a result of people not paying rent and other issues that was related to COVID. Okay, Terry, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Following that is actually the breakdown for each of the line items. So there you can see what we're spending for the salaries for the go ahead and scroll down, Celine. Yeah. So that's what we're paying for the child care dependent surveys. Further down, you have, I think, each of the line items that make up the total amount of the expenditures by category.
And also all the category expenditures has to be uploaded into HUD's database system. And we have to do that, what, Terry, on a monthly basis or as we spend the money?
I think it's going to be quarterly basis.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The second one, if you scroll down, Celine, we come to the housing choice voucher. So here, the housing authority.
Terry, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but before you move forward, the 900, you mentioned that it was about 900,000 left.
That's right. They've not been expenditures have not been
invoiced or paid as of yet. Most of that money has already been allocated, and it's in the process of maintenance uniforms, all different kind of stuff that's related to that. So I just wanted the board to know that's not money that's looked at to be recaptured. It's just haven't been actually paid out or spent yet on those items that was budgeted for.
And we have until December 31st, 2021 to expend all of the funds.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is pretty much the same situation with the housing choice voucher. We received about $1.4 million. We've identified expensive of $714,000, and we have excess of $661,000, which we will try to expend before December 31st, 2021. So this pie chart shows you the breakdown of all the expenditures. The big chunk of it is going to the HCB management fees, which are paid to the CLCC.
And that's the central office cost center for some of the newer commissioners. I'm just trying to make sure they get it,
No, I appreciate it.
Or people in the community. So the main office we receive fees for service in a sense. And so that's how we manage and pay salaries and opportunities for the main office. And so that's how HUD broke it down. They created a more of a business model with housing authorities years ago. And so it's fees. And so we have to operate and manage based on like lease up. So when we lease up the vouchers, we get fees for it, management fees and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure you guys, some of you new commissioners understood what that was and a COCC. It's the central office cost center. Sorry, Terry, I'm interrupting everything you say. I just want to make sure that you know.
Right. That's exactly right. You know the commissioners, and I'm kind of speak at a higher level. So here is the breakdown of all the detail for the revenue coming in and the expenses going out. The largest, of course, expenditure is to the management fees. And then the second one would be the asset purchases. And I believe that they're purchasing some laptops and the touchless bathroom and so forth. But that's also identified on the breakout schedule above.
On the top one.
The top one, assets, right. And the last one is the mainstream. This is also a Section 8 voucher program. HUD allowed us $212,778, and that's to be used for HAP only. They also provided additional $11,254, and that's for the administrative fees. At this time, I do not believe we have any identified expenses for the $11,254. But since this is a Section 8 program, some of the expenses that are being incurred by the Housing Choice Voucher Program will be allocated over to this program to make sure we absorb that $11,254. Any questions?
I appreciate the update. And Ms. Northern, thank you for being responsive to some of the questions that we brought up in our previous board meeting.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, we want to really work and satisfy the board members, our clients that we're serving, and the community at large. We're not perfect, but we'll get it done. So thanks a lot, Terry. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, great. So at this point, we will, if it pleases this body and Attorney French, we are preparing to go into executive session.
Excuse me, can I say one more thing before you guys hang up?
Yes, Ms. Davis.
Okay, this is what I had wanted to talk about was oh God, every time I get ready to talk to you for some reason, I go blank. I ain't understanding that.
Well, you must have went blank yesterday because you didn't tell me about that item, so.
Don't say that. But oh, this is what it was. Last summer, Miss Mims worked with the summer camp. And usually when we used to work with the summer camp, we worked up on the 990. And for some reason, when she worked last year, she was on disability, so she had to end up paying all the money that she made during the summer. She had to pay back the disability. And I'm trying to figure out why she was not put up on the 990. My question is, if y'all can do the residents, I mean, the employees there, why you guys couldn't, the people that you hire outside, they went to an outside agency. But she worked at the center for the summer camp, and she got to pay every dime back. And we used to work every summer. Our president worked every summer at the camp. We went up on the 990. I'm just trying to figure out what is the difference. Could we go back to that? Is that's going to be a problem for people to want to work during the summer camp?
Well, let's take it's noted. Let us take a look at it, and we'll follow up with you and make sure that we figure out what happened, what occurred, and what's the best way to move forward, ensuring to protect people from not having to repay funds.
Okay, that's what I appreciate that.
Great. Ms. Davis,
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for raising all of these. And, just to go back to this Office of Constituent Concerns that Mr. Northern has implemented, it's new. I know it's new for all of us, but I think a lot of the things that you raised, we, like Commissioner Pantaz has mentioned, we want to make sure that we plug that into our system so that we can track when these things come up. And particularly if they come up, multiple times, we're able to capture that information in that system. So I just want to encourage you to utilize that system to make sure that we're tracking a lot of these really important things that you're bringing up.
Okay, I will start calling and leaving it in there for you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so if it pleases the body, we will go into executive session. Attorney French, are we good to go into executive session?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I just want to certify as the Attorney General Counsel for the board that pursuant to Alabama Code 3625A-7, and we have actually multiple items to discuss. So it's going to be under the code section sub 3, 4, and 7. I just need to know about how long we're going to be expected to be in executive session for the public to know that, and whether or not we expect to come back out to discuss any business in open meetings.
I believe the closed session should be very fast. It's just basic information, and there won't be any decisions that need to be made outside of it. But we will, come back out of the session. It'll be a limited number of people in a session. But Attorney French also are we required to do a motion and go into closed session?
Yes, sir. We would need a motion and a roll call vote for each commissioner.
Great. So just to verify, Mr. Northern, are you thinking 20 minutes, 30 minutes? How long?
20 minutes or less, I feel.
Okay, great. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion for us to go into executive session pursuant to the items that Attorney French has brought up for 20 minutes.
And we just vote, Mr. Chairman.
Say again, Attorney French.
I think Commissioner Thompson moved the item, and we'd get a second and a roll call vote on it.
Gotcha, thank you.
I second.
All right, it has been moved and properly second that we move into an executive session for 20 minutes. Roll call, Vice Chairman Lewis.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Pantazis.
Here.
And Commissioner Davis had to break away for a 2 o'clock call.
And I just asked that we allow Ms. Foster to be a part of that session also.
And Ms. Foster will be in that executive session, and Mrs. Bibbs as well?
No, she's not.
Okay. All right. We good, Attorney French?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. Well, Terrain will give us a breakout room for us to go into executive session. And we'll report back in 20 minutes for adjournment. Again, I'm not of the understanding that we will have anything else to report out, or any decisions to be made because of the executive session. Thank you.
All right, here we go. Just look for it on your screen. It'll prompt you to when to join.
Thanks.